Live.
Okay.
Boom! Damn, that was fast. We're live, Jim. What's up?
It doesn't usually take. It usually takes a little longer.
Oh my! Oh look, we already got people in the comments. Who we got out there? Oh, Miss Sarah's coming in. She's in South Carolina today instead of Georgia. She's going to a ball game. I think she said her bonus son is playing ball today.
Nice.
So folks, well, everybody like we are today exclusively on the YouTube,
which will take probably some people that are used to routine going to LinkedIn to realize that we're not there.
Not there. We're here.
You'll have to come into the other side.
But it'll wave. So what I'll do is I'll monitor the LinkedIn and see if people are like cussing us because we're here. Yeah, look at that. She says, "Yep, baseball today." So we got 5 people, folks out there in the Omniverse. We want to love on you, and we don't know you're there unless you let us know you're there. So drop a comment so we can show you some love and appreciation for showing. Oh, look, here we go. We got Miss Cindy. Good morning, YouTube. Cindy Becerra, who is I'm just gonna say it. She's a repeat offender, right?
I would agree. I would 100% agree.
We've been hanging out. We were on the emotional bungee jumper call yesterday evening. Check-in for the affiliates. She's doing reciprocal propulsion. Again, back to back.
Yes.
Here we go. We got Mr. Adam Hoots coming. What's up, fam?
Hoots in the house.
And we got Justin coming in from.
Yes.
Oh, Jen, I got to meet him in person. Have you met him in person?
I have. I was I went and did Next Gen with him.
Oh yeah. Well,
I met him first.
No, mine was better. And then we got Steve Martin. What's up? Coming in from Connecticut. He's back. The chief marketeer. All right. So we got our people. We got our people showing up. I love it.
Pulling them in.
Yeah.
They're going to help us kind of get people over in the right place.
Yeah, we'll get them here. Man, folks, thank you for coming over to the YouTube and jumping in the chat. We have a Jen, like, she told me this. She didn't tell anybody else, but she's like, Jesse, I really want to answer all the questions.
You're so full of crap.
As much as possible. So, Jesse, could you please let me have some of the stage time? I said, yes, Jen, I will do that. So, folks, I'm going to need y'all's help to make sure and let us know what questions you have.
I don't like that you push all the buttons. I do not like this at all. That's okay. I'm a master facilitator, so I'm going to know how to take it and spin it and turn it right back around. So I'm not worried.
Oh, I love it. Oh, look, we got my brother. My brother Ernest says, sunny day. Folks, my brother is tinkering around with connecting and his entrepreneurial idea. And so he may be hitting you up. He's not a weirdo. Well, he's my brother, so I don't know if that gives or takes credibility from him. He's an amazing writer, awesome dude. So he has my endorsement. Be cool with them. Ian Smith coming in from Texas. What's up, man? We got to hang out with Ian yesterday. And then we got Mr. Christopher White.
Good morning.
From the upstate New York. Oh, man, they're all coming in now. So, folks, remember, the streamer says, what questions do you have for Jennifer?
And Jesse. You forget, there's both of us up here.
The conflict strategist, Miss Leslie. Good morning, Leslie, coming in from the NYC.
Yes.
And then again, my brother's like, ha. He's like,
he's like, I know him.
He's like, don't tell him you know me. All right. So today, Jen, what are we talking about?
I think it started with an after party conversation around how we show up. So that is, I know we talked a little bit about it on the pop-up, but it was, I think that is where we dug into a little bit on just how we show up in different places, how much of us shows up, and, having to grapple between what those look like, depending on our audience or the spaces we're in, but also just how comfortable we are with ourselves and how much we want people to know about us.
Yes. Well, speaking of showing up, Mr. Jim Victorious, he said, I'm not about this YouTube thing.
Well, thank you for being here and getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. And folks, so you and I had a live engagement on Thursday.
Yes.
And we got to meet a bunch of like super enthusiastic, awesome PMIers.
Yes.
Right? Was it PMI?
Yes. It was PMI, and like I'm gonna give us a little bit of like humble brags here. Mm-hmm. So like this event is their monthly dinner meeting, and so they do it, and it's their Dallas chapter is one of the biggest chapters for PMI for this organization, Project Management Institute, I believe, and they we ask them like, okay, what's the average audience, because we kind of sometimes like to know what we're walking into, and they're like, about 100 120 is about their monthly people that show up. Well, they pegged us to speak, which was an amazing, we so appreciate that. It maxed out at 200. They had to cut off registration. So like that's a big deal, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And like 193 people showed up that registered. Like,
yes.
That's even bigger.
It was huge. Delicious food, awesome people, awesome audience, major engagement. It was like a party, man. I'm loving it.
And they all jumped on, like they all connected with us, stayed after, we got to talk to them, and then they found us on LinkedIn. And so we've just been making a lot of new connections. So hopefully we have some out there that may be lurking, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So PMIers, if you're out there, man, let us know you're there. We love you.
Yes.
Look who else we got. We got Mr. Mike Kyman. Ooh, I like that background pic. He was in the NYC. I know where he was. Good morning, J&J. And look, Adam knows. He said, how much do you miss me in the DJ booth?
100% miss you. Like Jesse gets to deflect all the time because he's like, oh, Adam in here. I gotta carry all the weight. I'm going to have to do this, Jennifer. You're going to have to go and carry the conversation. So I miss you tremendously.
Yeah, I love it. So we're going to be talking about, and tribes, we need y'all. We're going to need y'all on this one because there's a lot there. But like, how do we show up? What are the dynamics that kind of make us feel like we need to tamp down our personalities or conform to some unwritten rules or interpret unwritten rules? Like there's so much room.
There's a lot to unpackage
to swim in this one. And I think, Jen, I know you and I know me in that I've learned how to be more and more of myself.
Yes.
But there were a lot of scary steps to get there.
It's still scary. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
Let's just own that right now.
People ever ask, like, man, like you just natural, like you do this all the time. I wish I was like that. I'm not like that. I'm like, no, I wasn't like this. I am now, but I wasn't like that in the beginning. So we do some more shout, man. We got people.
Yes. Come on.
So we got Mr. James Gable, the uncommon communicator.
I did a podcast with him recently. It was awesome.
How was that?
It was really good, and we got to talk a lot about emotional bungee jumpers, which is like, yes.
That's the stuff. Thank you, James. And also, like, we always kind of give each other blue hearts and connect on the LinkedIn. What we could do that on the YouTube. Let's follow each other's channels here on the YouTube. Yesenia, she's fixing to go boxing.
Nice.
Bullying people, Yesenia.
I need to get connected with her. Like, Yesenia, you and I need to be in the same place so that I can get your journals. So I'm going to call you out right now. Like, I need us to connect.
Yes, because Yesenia is a jumper, and we owe her journals.
Yes.
Reflection journals. Miss Leslie Knight.
Thank you, Leslie.
Mrs. Adam.
Thank you.
And we got Maria Martin. Said, good morning.
She sent me a message this morning. She says, thank you for everything you do and how you show up. You taught me how to show up before I ever even met you. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to unpackage that a little bit.
And then Bruce, troublemaker. What's up, Bruce? Bruce made it. I love it.
His way over.
Yes, he did. All right. So we got it. We got about 21 people on here.
Nice.
Again, folks out there, if it is your first time coming on the live stream with us, drop a little blue heart in your comments so everybody else can swarm you and love on you and support you. Thank you for the folks that normally come in through LinkedIn for going through the pain of coming into YouTube. I really appreciate that. Buenos dias, Mike. ¿Cómo
Yes.
estás? The Michael Philly.
Thank you. So, but can you like maybe tell some of these people may not know the experiment? Like, why are we only on YouTube today?
Oh yeah, no, that's perfect. So, you know, I'm a strategist, planner, guy. No, so the thinking of having a concentrated effort here on LinkedIn today comes from me kind of analyzing my interaction on social media. And folks, if you're out there, like, I'm not an expert, but this is just what I've seen happen with my stuff. And I have stuff everywhere. So I've got the Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. And what I started noticing is there's a few platforms. I started looking at the longevity of the content on the platforms. And so like Facebook and Instagram, they have any of my content has a very short shelf life, meaning I post it, it gets a lot of interaction and views or whatever in like 1 to 3 days, and then it's like it disappears. There's no more interaction on that in the future. LinkedIn has a lot of interaction, and that shelf life is about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. YouTube has a very, very long shelf life. Like we could do something and it'll be weeks, months, and some stuff even a year that it'll keep popping up. I don't know if that's because of the searchability. I really don't know why that happens, but it does happen. And so with that in mind, it's like, well, how do we expand the tribe via YouTube, right? Because we've had that, the expansion on LinkedIn. And so the thought was, well, let's go to YouTube live stream. And then when, of course, the tribe's going to show up and bring the value and drive interaction, which expands our reach, blah, blah, blah. So that's the thing, you know, I've been able to grow personally with these engagements and been able to meet a lot of amazing people, and y'all, the tribe members out there, share how these conversations impact you. So it's like, okay, how can we spread the love? And so we wanted to just give that a shot today and see what comes of it. And then we'll go back to the normal programming. Like next week or the next session will be a live session with the reciprocal propulsion.
Yes.
So we'll have a gang of people up here, and we'll go to our standard live streaming everywhere in the world.
But the after party is on LinkedIn.
Yes, we will still have the after party on LinkedIn. So I guess we should start talking about our topic, Jen.
Yes. Okay. So Jesse, so we talked about this on the pop-up, but not a lot of people are on the pop-up. So I would like for you really quick. I know. So you usually do the visuals for us for what we're going to do on Saturday mornings. And the one you chose this week was kind of like a red carpet type, like showing up with our sunglasses and whatever. Like, why did you choose that as the visual for what we're going to talk about today?
Oh, that's a good question. The reason maybe I'll touch on my process or the process. You and we talk, like we debrief after the after party, and it's like, oh my God, that was awesome. And it was amazing. Right. And then we kind of talk about themes that came up through the after party. It's like, okay, that's a possible. And then we kind of land on something. It's still kind of loose.
Yeah.
And then chew on it a little bit, like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. And then I open up Canva and I'm like, okay, well, for this one specifically, it's like, okay, we're talking about how we show up or how we present ourselves in a room, in a space of other people. It's like, okay. And then I say, well, how do I feel when I'm like mentally preparing to be like, if I'm doing a presentation or if I'm doing live stream or if I'm facilitating a group, the mindset I'm in is like, okay, I believe as the facilitator, if I'm going to complain at the end that people weren't engaged and energy was low, I believe that's my fault. It's my responsibility to bring the energy and drive the engagement. And so in my head, it's like, how am I going to walk in, show up and make a freaking splash? Like, bam, here you go, baby, I'm here. And so it's the red, that I was like, it's red carpet, right? Because when you see people on the red carpet, they're all shiny and wearing their sexiest stuff and posing and doing the blue steel. So that's where the idea of the thumbnail came from, is like, do we all do that, right? Or because I've been in this situation where it's like, okay, big deal, I'm going to show up, it's a big public thing, and then maybe I don't even want to step on the red carpet. I want to walk around the edge where nobody notices me, right? Because that happens. And then you have the photographers, like the paparazzi, all there, and it's like, but they're a part of the experience. So how do you reject them? Do you receive them? Do you accept them? So it was all of that was going through my head when I landed on that red carpet image.
I love that. So I want to ask a follow-up question, because it made me, as you were describing this. So we have people that are very close to us that like to wear sunglasses a lot. So what are your thoughts on, is that adding to the, like, how I show up and I am like ready to go, or is that hiding?
That's a really good question. It's complicated. I have a friend of mine, Fernando Cortinas, who always wore his Lokes all the time, inside, in meeting, training, always wore them. And I don't know if you remember, I think it's Big Daddy. There's a movie with Adam Sandler, yes, where the little boy was like scared. It's like, here, put on your invisible glasses, right? So he put on the sunglasses and he was invisible. And so I would mess around with Fernando. And so I thought he was just trying to be cool and deflect. Then I asked Fernando, like, why do you do that? He's like, dude, these are the only prescribed glasses I have. I'm like, oh, oh, okay. So now it makes sense. And so I think the first important thing is to seek to understand why people do that, right? Now, that being said, there's a popular idea right now is around branding yourself. What is your brand?
Yep.
And so it could be an attempt at having something visual that people recognize as that person's brand.
Yes.
It's possible.
Truth.
Now, a brand normally has a message, right? So what is there a connection? We don't know.
Right.
I also think, again, what the person's intent is and what people are receiving is the real thing. And like Sean Moran is going to be on the decentralized conference. He's going to be talking about intent and reality, right? So if you intend to do something, but the reality that other people are experiencing is different, does intent matter? Right? I can't hide behind my intent. What's the reality? And so sometimes it is on purpose or definitely received as a deflection or a barrier between connection. So like I said, it's a little complicated, but that's kind of my perspective on it.
Well, I like that because my brain goes to like poker, and you got people that like don't want people to see them. They're, they may be like, their eyes can be deceiving and they can kind of give them away a little bit. And so that's where my brain goes when I think of sunglasses, but I know that's not everybody, but that just, sometimes it's like, yeah, you can't really, if you can't see people's eyes, sometimes it's hard to like judge and stuff. So.
Yes. Well, it's again, I think, I heard something the other day, they were talking about self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And I love their thought about it was, some people think self-awareness is about knowing who you are. The thought that they were presenting was like, self-awareness isn't necessarily about knowing who you are. Self-awareness is about knowing how people receive you. Right? Like, totally different perspective.
I like that.
Right, because when I'm aware of how my behavior, my dress, my flat bill hat, like that's
asking for a friend. Just go look at any of Adam's content.
Right. So so Adam's asking the question: what about the hat? Does that add to or take away asking for a friend? And he's asking for himself, y'all. Just yes. And I'll tell you, like my percent that we were somewhere. Adam and I we were speaking, I think we were in Colorado at a conference, and he was looking good, looking sharp, had his suit on, and he's like, "Hey man, should I wear the hat?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll wear the hat." For me, that was a declaration of, yes, I can be shiny, but I'm also a person.
My authentic self.
Exactly. And he even got props from some of the folks out there in the audience saying like, "Man, I love the hat. Thank you for doing that." Because for me, that's a nod or a representation to the field, to the people out there doing the work, just kind of regular everyday people. Yep. And so it's those kinds of things, like what is the purpose of it, and does it connect with people? Like, how are people receiving that?
Well, and you mentioned it in our pop-up that like when you dress up for presentations, like there's some things that you do, and it's not so much that look at Jesse and I'm all shiny, and I like it because it goes back to what you just said. It's how you show up and how you dress up and the things you do like help you connect to something else.
Totally. And so that, like, how do I signal to people that I see them and I want to represent them? I'm representative of them. And so one of those examples is fishing.
Bruce, why do you do it? Why, you just have to poke. You have
to. I love you, Bruce. Thank you for that one. And you know what? There's some folks out there we got to give some love to.
Yes, do it.
We got Miss Gloria Fuentes. She says she loves that. What is going on? I just got to interview her on the Learnings and Missteps podcast.
Nice.
That episode's out. Actually, Gloria, I'm going to be posting the YouTube version today. So part 1's out. Part 2 will be out next. She's like energy, Jen. You don't even know.
I cannot wait.
So yeah, look, she agrees, right? Self-awareness, how people receive you. Hold on, I saw another one. Oh man, we got some good stuff. Oh, Jamie Knox. She says deep. Because yes, right? Like these are deep things. Miss Sarah says, "What I hear you saying, is where we should log in on all platforms." Yes, absolutely. There's value there.
James Gable had something too, I think.
Yeah, so James says the whole idea of influence and someone's ability to change the energy in the room. Can someone develop this, or do they just have it, Jen? Come on, girl.
Well, I think one, there's some people that is how they naturally show up. And yes. I'm just going to say that from experience, because I know just how people take me, perceive me, receive me, and what they feel my value is. Sometimes that is how they first try to describe it. And it doesn't mean that's who I am, but my energy and the way that I show up, like that is what people remember. And there's a lot of other things that I bring to the table, and that's okay, because that is sometimes what they remember. And at first I was just like, well, I'm more than just my energy. Like I'm more than just how I show up. But I started to realize there's not a lot of people that they engage with that show up like that. And so that's how they define it. It's the energy and how I show up and my connection to the people, because that they're trying to describe something that maybe they haven't experienced a lot of. So at that point, I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And then, so part of it is, some of it's just natural, but I also think there's a couple of different things I've done, whether it's Felipe and I are doing some stuff with some high performance leadership facilitation stuff. There's some engagements that I do in a room we do kind of a new hire thing where part of the day they get to sit and kind of receive a lot of information. And then I get an update on what, how the class was going. And then the second half of the day, they get me, or the second day they get me. And sometimes it's like, oh, they're kind of quiet. They're not really engaging. They don't really, it's a quiet group. Every group, it doesn't matter. Any feedback I get prior to it, because of the way I engage with them, they are up, they are talking, they are engaging, they are putting stickies, they're having group discussions, they're getting some authentic conversations. We're digging into some things that they were not prepared for, but it's because of the environment that I've created and because of how I engage with them and how I connect with them, that it changes the way that they are engaging with each other. So I think it's two things. I think it's both.
I agree. So like back to James's question, right? Can someone develop this, or do they just have it? I'm going to say we all have it. We're
yes.
just not, we're either aware of it or we're not.
Yes.
Right. Like if I'm the head of the table and I'm leading the conversation, the group, whatever it is, their response is relative to the energy that I bring.
Yes.
Right. So if they're quiet and like sitting down and just listening, it's because of I told you about this. I was on a call earlier in the week where I'm kind of like, it was a decentralized conference call, right? Kind of going through the thing. And I was like, man, there wasn't like a lot of dialogue and interaction and goofing around, because that's kind of how I am. Well, guess what? It's because I'm like, this is the agenda. We got to talk about this. Any questions? No, everybody good. Okay. It's because of the energy I showed up with, right? And so James, to your question, I'm going to say we have it. It's just about how aware are we of the energy that we're bringing, because the energy is contagious, right? Everybody feels.
Yes, it's voodoo magic.
Now, I will say also, like, to add on that is when you have the fishnets, you really create a safe space for people to open up and be their authentic self. So thank you, buddy, for reminding us about that. And the hats, right? Christopher says the Clemson hats are definitely an ad. And Adam is like, yay, thank you. I get to wear my hat. So that's super awesome. Anyways, back to the point of how do we show up? And you mentioned, and I mentioned it on the pop-up, is there's two things that I wear that mean a lot to me. And they're a direct connection to my heritage, if you will. So I like wearing Stacey Adams, really nice Stacey Adams shoes. And I like wearing my tank tops under my dress shirts. I won't wear t-shirts under my dress shirts. And those two articles of clothing are a direct connection to my family, like my uncles and my dad back in the day. Like, dressing up was Stacey Adams, the beaters under the button-up shirt, maybe a guayabera, the tres flores in the hair. And so for me, it's I'm me. And that's a shout out to my people. Now, there have been times in my career where people have commented directly about my undershirt and about my shoes. And so there was a time where I shifted to like the t-shirt, but then I was more subdued, right? I was like present and conforming, and my energy was off. And so now I'll say here the last 5 years or so, it's like, this is it. This is how I'm showing. You don't have to like it. It's okay. I'm not, and there's no disrespect from me having those things. So if you're not okay with it, I get it, but this is what you're going to get. And what it does for me is I get to bring more of myself in the moment and in the engagement. And so, like you talked about your presentation or the thing that you do on the regular with the new hire thing and all the stuff is, I think people get real. It's easy to say your energy or your smile or, your sense of humor or these things, like trying to kind of put a nail on what the thing is. Mm-hmm. And I've been in situations where people aren't like us, that are good, like that aren't like Jennifer, that bring the butterfly effect. Right? I've been in situations where it's very matter of fact and very serious and very deep and not flamboyant like me, right? And it's still an impactful, deep and meaningful experience. And so the point there is, it's not the energy, excitement, smiles, wild, crazy, deep, serious. It's the depth of authenticity, right? So whatever you are, if you're pensive and philosophical, or you're nurturing and caring, or you're wild and nutty, like if that's who you are, the more of you that you bring, the more impactful that is for people. What do you think about that?
Well, 1,000 things are going off in my head right now. So I want to hit on the how we show up with presentations and then shift to something else that you just said. So you're Stacey Adams in your undershirt, like, that's a big deal to you. So for me, like I work in, at job sites, but I also am in the office and stuff. And so there's I'm going to say a dress code, because, you're kind of in leadership positions that, how you dress up. And shoes are a big deal to me. If you don't know that, if you have not been around me, shoes are a big deal to me. And And when you're going to the office, things like that, your default is I got to make sure, I'm wearing my heels or I'm wearing my flats or I'm wearing these dressy shoes. I don't like those shoes. And I know sometimes you have to conform and you have to do things, but I also know that when I bring my authentic self and I'm able to do things, still do my job, but also show up with who I am, it allows other people around me to do that. And so like you show up in your, in what you do, I show up in, we presented on Thursday night, and I showed up with tie-dye tennis shoes. And yes. I'm going to tell you, like my tennis shoes, how my slip-on tennis shoes, my ones with my daisies and the flowers on, like I love that because one, it puts me in I'm comfortable and I am in a place where I'm good. My girls hate it. Like I have a 12 and a 14-year-old daughter. And they are like, because I got my dress shirt, I got my nice pants, whatever. And they're like, Mom, that doesn't even match. And it kills them. I walk out of the house and they're like, you're not wearing those shoes, are you? I'm like, of course I'm wearing these shoes. Like, Mom, you can't do that. You're going to go present. And so it's hilarious because that is me. And if you know me, that is me. If you don't know me, that is me. Like my shoes are a big deal. And I try to be comfortable, but also like it's fun and it's kind of breaks the ice and stuff like that. So the clothing and how we show up in that one little piece that kind of defines us is huge. So think about that. What is that for you? And two, when you talked about the engagement with other people, like you and I, and how you and I mix and match and all that stuff, it's like you're my little brother that I have to like rein in a lot, but like I have 3 younger brothers. And so that is like my comfortable and it's safe and I trust them and they trust me and they kind of know that sometimes I'm going to have to go, that's not okay. Let's get, let's do something else. And so sometimes like, what is your natural way you show up based on your life, like your siblings and your family and are you a caregiver? Are you those kind of things? Like, don't push away from that when you show up at work. It doesn't mean you have to be the person that takes care of everything. But like, if that is your natural, like I'm the big sister in my family. And so my dynamic with Jesse, sometimes people are like, what is going on? I'm like, that's okay. Sometimes I got to pull him back in a little bit. And so like, don't run away from those things. Stop and like really think about it. Jesse, I think you have a question of like, how much of you do you bring to work or how do you show up? Because sometimes we like think it's home and then we get to work and we're trying to be this different person, but we're already naturally good at something. We're already naturally comfortable with something. And so go ahead.
Yeah, no. So, that's it. It's like for me, I'm going to say this for me, and it wasn't easy to get here. It's embracing the things that are important and meaningful to me.
Yes.
Like we just had the live presentation. I was running up and down the aisles and high five, because I want to interact with people. Like right. That's what I want to do. And I'm okay with it. I also know that it's a little bit out of the norm, right? Right. I know that people are like, what the hell is that? What's going on? Some people loved it. Some people maybe didn't love it so much. They feel like it's over the top, but that's okay. Like you get to make that decision. So Ernest, my brother, says it's the tailored slacks for me. Hell, he knows all about the slacks and the Stacey Adams, like from Penners in San Antonio. Like that's the stuff. And so folks out there, there's a question. So 2 questions are on the board. One is, do you bring, or how much of you do you bring to work, which is a really important question. And the other question, believe it or not, Justin posed, Justin Uyar says, does anyone overthink before they show up? So you just got a pronounced response, Jen. What are you on this one?
Maybe Adam can answer that in the comments. I'm just going to say, Adam, you maybe have some feedback on this question. You maybe have some thoughts on it. You may want to add that in there so people can connect.
That's hilarious.
Your take on that question.
Yep. Well, so Miss Leslie jumped in there right out of the gate. She says, yes, when the overthinking starts, she stops thinking. Easier to write than do. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Leslie. I'll say for me, Jen, no. And it's almost relative. Yes, there's things that I run through my head, but it's very easy. Like, doesn't matter. This is what I'm going to do. Boom, let's go. And I mean, you and I have experienced this over a year and a half, almost 2 years now, where I'm kind of like prep call, like I'll just look at the slides right before we go on and I'll come up with something. So no, I don't overthink, especially when I'm showing up in person. The one thing that I do spend more time than necessary thinking about is what I'm going to wear. Right. And for whatever reason, well, for a lot of reasons. One's because I have to iron my clothes. Like I want my clothes to be ironed. I want the crispy lines in my shirts and my pants, like all of that. And I'm a messy eater. So it's like, damn it, if I wear a white shirt and I get freaking gravy on it, Jen, you've seen it, right? It's like, am I going to wear a suit? Is it going to be too much? I want to wear a suit, but I also just want to show up in my fishnets. So there is that for me, when I'm thinking about what I'm going to wear, I want to represent a part of my heritage, of the things that I find valuable that contributed to me being the person I am. And I also want to show appreciation and respect and honor the audience, right? So like if I'm speaking to a field crew, I kind of want to wear my work boots and my jeans, but I also I've done that before, and people are like, hey man, that was a great thing, but you represent us. You need to dress better next time. Like straight up, like the field crew is like, dude, this is awesome. You representing me. It's awesome to see somebody with the same beautiful tan up there, but you got to elevate your game. Like, what are you talking about? Like, bro, like wear something nice next time. Like, oh shit. So it wasn't an ugly comment. It was more like, hey, we're proud of you, but show up and show out. Like, you don't need to dress down like 10-4. So anyways, that's my answer to the overthinking question. What about you, Jennifer?
Well, a couple of things that pinged when you were talking. One is I will answer the question, but first I want to respond to a lot of it. And there was a post this week, I think it was Lance, about women in construction. Mm-hmm. And why do we celebrate women in construction 1 week out of the year?
Yes.
And it was a great post. And I dealt with a lot of conversations around just how do we highlight women? How do we elevate women? What does that look like within construction? Because again, it's growing. Our percentages are growing, but we also need women to come into construction. And so that a lot of times is how you show up. What do you do? How are you celebrating that? And at first, and in my conversations with other women within my firm and in the industry, it was like, what can we do? What can we do? We've got to hold our sword, and we've got to make sure that we are making a stand and things like that. And that's kind of how it's been with construction because it's such a small percentage. And then my thinking shifted when I started realizing that my firm and even people within the industry were allowing me to be the voice and the person that was representing our industry. I wasn't representing women. I wasn't representing lean. I wasn't representing this token person that we can say, hey, we value women. It's now because of our body of work and the things we've done. Like the recognition is there because of what we're doing together. And when that shift happened, it does not matter to me. It does not matter if I'm the only woman in the room. It does not matter if I am up representing a national healthcare general contractor. It doesn't matter if you and I are in a room and you represent one, demographic, I represent another. It is irrelevant to me. When I'm speaking from my body of work, my knowledge, my experiences, things like that. And when I made that shift, it opened up so much more because I'm not just showing up to be able for someone to check a box. I'm not just showing up so that now we can say, okay, we've got the woman here now, like that. Because that's not why I show up. That's not how I speak. That's not the things that come out of my mouth. And you know that because you and I talk a lot. I do not show up with that. That's not the first thing that people see when I engage with them, because we have people, I know people in my firm that were like, I want nothing to do with Women in Construction Week. I don't want my photo posted. I don't want any of those done. And they're amazing, but they're like, I don't want to be that person that is represented 1 week out of the year because I'm doing something and we need to make sure we celebrate it. And so when we can get out of that mindset of it doesn't matter, what week of the year is or who is, when you're in front of somebody, are you valuing them? Are you celebrating them? Are you shining a light on them no matter who they are? Then guess what? It doesn't matter. because you're going to do it with everyone you engage with. And I think that's, to me, that's huge. And I think we've got to remember that when we are, calling groups out because of whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably on the other side of that.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not entirely, but so there's a freaking heavy question out there that we're gonna have to have the conversation. So, but before we go there, there's a lot of stuff in the comments that I want to share because this is some good stuff that people, Bruce shares. Some may have it more naturally, but I think you can develop it. Exactly. I think that's 100% truth. Steve, the chief marketeer, says showing up partially, not completely, or not authentically is hashtag self-bewareness, right? Like, what do you miss out? What gravy's left on the table when you don't show up entirely? Sarah says, I didn't realize how I really showed up until I started showing up on my show. So she's got the live stream that she's doing. I got to catch a piece of it yesterday. She says, I find people assume also important to tell people. I know focus on giving people positive energy even more now, right? And so, Jen, you have a little bit of experience with this live streaming thing and how it's affected you.
Yes.
Well, and go ahead.
You go.
I was just saying, like, the fact that we live stream so often helps, like, we get reps in. And so for me, rep after rep after rep of being me and more me, elevate my comfort to be more of me live and in person all the time. Absolutely. Because I get practice at doing it. And 100%. So like that keeps coming up, right? Like some people can get there. Yes, you got to practice it. How do you be authentic? Practice being more authentic than you were yesterday. Give yourself permission to show up and show out. Like Leslie, she says, show up as me, not someone else's version of me. So I had cut you off, Jen. What were you going to say?
Okay. If you don't know me, then it's okay. Yeah, I've been on this journey with Jesse for going on 2 years. And when I showed up at the beginning, overthinking was just my default. And it was not out of fear. It was just, again, making sure that I was showing up right. I was representing. I was doing the things that, the people around me would value. And I showed up and needed, okay, what's the agenda? What's the plan? Have we done this? We got to make sure the message is right and stuff like that. And that is how I showed up. And that was, up until I collided with Jesse. And then we started having conversations and he went with me and he's like, okay, we'll have the call. We'll have the agenda. We'll do all this stuff. And I realized really quick that even doing all that planning and all the prepping, the power of what we were able to do was the stuff off script. And the things that we were able, and as soon as that started clicking in my head, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow him, and I trust him, and I believe he's gonna take care of me, and he's not gonna push me off the ledge without being there with me. And once that was created, and I trusted him, literally, like it's a visual on LinkedIn that goes out to the omniverse. And I'm like, oh, that's what we're talking about today. And then we just show up and we talk. And it has been magical because it doesn't matter what room I'm in. It doesn't matter who we're standing in front of. Jesse, you and I have to talk about this all the time. How do y'all do this? And how do you get up here? And what are you going to say? And we're like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. And it's because we've done it over and over and over again. So those reps, it's scary, but every time it gets less scary.
Yes. Jamie says they can dim your light, but we ain't going to let them. Miss Gloria says, preach, sister, let's go. And Sarah, I love this one. She's talking about like the Women in Construction Week. She wants a movement, not a celebratory week. And I, on that note, agree 100%, right? Yes. Like, these little pep rallies, they're cute, but like we need to do something real. And that's going to take a lot of us to make that happen. And Christopher agrees. So powerful, Jesse. Thank you. You have to shun the non-believers. He posted that one way earlier, Jen, and I just knew you wanted to hear somebody shout me out. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the question that I was like, oh my God, this is for real. So Mike Ophelia says, I feel like there are more layers to this when you're a minority based on my own experiences. And so thank you, Mike, because that was part of the conversation that we had on the after party. Mm-hmm. Right? And I want to, if I can have some permission to kind of broaden this a little bit.
Yes.
I think it's easy to believe, especially because his beautiful 10 and my beautiful 10, when we're talking about minorities, we're talking about people with 10s. And I want to bring this, like, just adjust our Zoom level a little bit. Just think about the room itself. And if you are the person that's representative of an age, of a certain age group, a certain religion, certain life preferences, life choices, the minority thing is not relative to 10, it's relative to a lot of things. And so if I'm the only guy in a room, which I've been that, right? I've been like, it's tough, y'all, but I'm doing it. I'm taking it for the team. I become the minority when I'm in a room surrounded by women. You've seen it. I've been there present.
Yes.
And like, how does that affect the way I show up? And so, folks, again, yes, the skin color, yes, the gender, and yes, everything else. So the question then becomes, what does this mean when you are the minority in the room, showing up and showing out as the minority in the room? So thoughts from the Omniverse. And folks, while y'all are commenting and bringing that juiciness, what are your thoughts, Jen?
Well, this is like, I work in construction. So this is, I think that it's never going to be like just not a topic of conversation. Like, I think we always like, oh, we just want to get to a point where we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to call it out. We don't have to, like, that's great. And that's wonderful. And we're trying to increase percentages here and help this and recognize this and call this out. And you know how I feel about, like, we work with human beings. We work with humans across the table, at the job sites, engaging with conversations. Like, until we can take a step back and acknowledge that the people we work with, like, we can't discount their skin color. We can't discount their gender. We can't discount their generation, because that's a whole nother one. We can't discount their age. But every single one of them, like, they have stories, they have backgrounds, they have things they're leaving at home to come to work. They have things they're taking from work to go home. And it goes into, and Jesse, I'm going to say it, like, it leads, because of our industry, and I'm speaking from construction, it leads into a lot of self-destructive behavior because of how people are judged, because of how they self-medicate, because of how they try to navigate through something, because they're human. And they, like, sometimes we forget that we work with other human beings. And I mean, I'm not trying to, like, gloss over everything, but, like, at the core is we forget how to value humans, not the work they're putting in place, not the production, not the things that their hands and everything they're doing to help people make money and make a profit, but the human beings themselves. Like, we forget that at the core, they are still human beings. They have a family. They have bills to pay. They have a bank account. They have family maybe in another country. They have things that, you know, and are we taking into account? So, Jesse, I'm going to call you out because I need you to tell the story, because I heard it last night, and I'm going to make you say it again because it was a magical story. So, a couple of things. Number one, let me find it. Where's it at? It's somewhere. I'll get it in a minute. The story about, like, when we talk about human beings, when we talk about how we show up, and you've kind of made you've grown in a lot of ways of how you used to manage and lead.
Yes.
And then now how you show up and engage with people, and you value them and you serve them. Like, you didn't start there. And so you told a story last night on a live stream with Aaron Gibson about how maybe someone on your job site, somebody passed away in their family.
Oh yeah.
Who was the person you were then?
Yes.
Yes. So can you tell us that story?
Oh, absolutely. So, and Mike is just serving it up, right? So Mike, and this is true. right? He says we need to be able to see. Oh no, wait, that's out of sequence. So he said, yeah, most people don't see the human first. How many times have you heard people say, I don't see color? And that's probably the worst mindset to have when dealing with diversity. And we need to be able to see color because people aren't monolithic. Differences make us who we are.
Absolutely.
And I'm sharing that because back then, another like little nugget about how I thought and operated, I was in that space of I don't see color. Everybody's a human being, which is crap because it's real, right? That's like saying I don't have taste buds. I'll eat anything. Bullshit. I want steak, right? Like I have preferences. There's things that I appreciate. There's things that I see that signal to me to invest or walk away. So it's a reality. Anyhow, the story that you're talking about, Jen, I was a superintendent and we had a team. I was checking in with the team and I know so-and-so was missing. I'm like, what's his name? Because they're like, we need manpower. Like, manpower, you got enough people. Like, well, so-and-so left. Why did he leave? Well, family member died. I was like, oh, it's like, and he just found out, like, yeah, it happened today. I'm like, okay, so why did he leave? Well, to be with his family. I said, well, what's he gonna do? Like resurrect him? The funeral's not gonna be for like a week or so. Like, and he needs a whole, like, and I know how harsh and just despicable that sounds, but that's exactly what I said. Did I appreciate people? Hell no, I didn't appreciate people. He was a unit of production to me. And because he went to do human things, he had no value to me because I didn't value the person and the human being. You know, then the guys explained, they're like, man, you're a son of a gun. Like, well, you know, whatever. And his culture is when a family member passes, it's a thing for like a week and a half. Right now, the truth for me at that time, if I was a pallbearer in a family member's funeral, I went to the job site in the morning, got everything unlocked, got the guys situated, got everybody lined up, went to the funeral, did my deal, did the pallbearer thing. As soon as that was done, I went back to the job site. That's how I functioned, right? That was my norm because I had a very low appreciation for people because, you know, I didn't see color. I didn't like, it was whatever, just come work. And so that thinking of I don't see color and blah, 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 what it really helped me do was treat people like things. Whereas now when I do put in the damn effort to see as much as I possibly can of the human being in front of me, I am better equipped to serve that person. And that requires me to be vulnerable. That requires me to be authentic. And so those little things are just kind of excuses for me to protect myself and stay in a comfortable state, right? And so kind of back to an earlier question about being the minority in the room and who do I represent? Like it absolutely in my head in Jesse land, I have a responsibility, and this for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it pisses me off, but it's a reality. I have a responsibility to represent. I am representing my neighborhood. I am representing my brothers. I am representing my graduating class, my friends that I went to middle school and high school with. I am representing so many people that I have to, like in terms of this overthinking question, I absolutely take that into consideration. Because people have told me, you represent us. Thank you for representing the trades. I'm a plumber. I'm not all the trades, but people see me as a representative of the trades, of the craft worker, of the person that came from the bottom, right? And so for me, it is an immense responsibility that I want to fulfill in the best way I possibly can, or maybe for more clarity, in the best way I want to, right? Like I want to represent trades as forward thinking, as problem solving, as open-minded, as industrious and creative and funny and goofy and sexy, which the one I do consistently is the sexy part. Anyways, that's my story. My name's Jesse and I'm done speaking.
So this is hitting. The overthinking. Mm-hmm. And I love the question, but I also want to go to the other side of that, because I know I engage with a lot of different people, and I show up and I'm a part of whoever I'm in the room with. Sometimes I don't think about it enough. And so this happened last month. I forget who I represent. And it's not that I discount it, because everyone that knows me knows I value human beings above everything. But I forget that I'm also representing a lot of what you just said. Like, I forget because of the people. I'm going to tell you, the people that I'm surrounded with value me, not the woman, not my age, they value me. And because I'm so used to being surrounded by people like that, I forget that I still am carrying a torch for a group of people. And we were at Western Carolina University for the Next Gen with Walker and Davis, and Justin helped us, be there. Adam was there. We had a great group of people. We go in and we talk to construction science majors, people that are going to come into the construction industry, just about like, hey, we know you learn a lot here, technical things, but there's also a lot of other soft skills and a lot of other leadership things that maybe we don't talk about a lot in college. So we are there kind of as a panel discussion, answering questions. And I'm usually the only woman in the room when it comes to our group of people, which is normal for me because I get to hang out with y'all all the time. And one of the deltas from a couple of the women in the room were just, we would have loved to get more from Jennifer, more specific things about women in construction, some more very, very intentional things, because the things that we deal with are a little bit different than maybe the masses when it comes to construction. And yeah, that's great. But that's not something I would have thought about. But for them, I am representative of them and what they could be and what they could do and just the mind-blowing opportunities out there that they're not even thinking about. But because I am doing what I do, that's something that they want and need. And I was not thinking about it enough.
Yes. I mean, here's the response. I mean, Jen, this surfaced when we started the 5S in relationships conversations. We were just going to do this thing because it seemed like a cool thing to do. What happened was we discovered a responsibility, right? Because we kind of peeled the scab off of this thing. And here's the truth of it is, or at least the truth in Jesse land is this, is what one person can do, another can do. And when we see somebody that speaks like me, looks like me, thinks like me, all of the above, or any of the above, I am now emboldened to do something like that too.
Yes.
Right. That's when I see people, and again, when I'm talking about, so Gloria has yes, we need to value people regardless of age, color, race, gender, religion, all freaking year. Yes, 100%. The marketing of all the, this month and national this day and whatever, I don't trust it. I think it's a marketing thing, but that's immaterial here.
Like Valentine's Day.
Like Christmas, yes.
I'm not a Valentine's Day fan just because it's one day out of the freaking year. But anyway, I digress.
Right. So, and it's about value people. Yes. And everything about people. My point is, there are times when I've seen somebody that doesn't look like me, right? It's clear we have our different nationalities, whatever. But the truth that they're speaking, they're thinking of Jordan Peterson, which might be controversial for some folks. Jordan Peterson, I got nothing in common with that fool. But some of the way he thinks, totally, I'm like, yes, preach, bro. That's what I've been feeling. And so it gives me permission to speak in that kind of space or think deeper about those types of things. And so my point is, to the question about being a representative, I mean, you just said it, that you don't really it's not in your space of consciousness that you're considering. Ernest is saying, I tend to think I don't represent anyone. false, right? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He says, I tend to think I don't represent anyone. Shifting to represent would be a game changer. Yes, right? Because it comes with responsibility and it comes with learning and it brings things to the surface.
Can you, when you get done, can you bring buddies up? Because I want to make a point.
That's exactly where I'm going, right? And for me, thinking in terms of representing a person, a family, a group, or human beings, right? That ultimately, why do I show up the way I show up? Is because I believe that I value people. I know or believe that we are more alike than we are different. And if I show up the way I show up in an inclusive, I'm not even gonna use the word inclusive, in an inviting manner, like you're invited to come play. If you don't want to play, don't play, right? And we're a little aggressive in Jesse land. If you're waiting to be picked for the starting position, you're not going to be picked. You need to jump your ass in there to play. So I operate in an inviting manner for all people so that hopefully that fire catches with other folks. And why? Like, why is it important for me? And why do I do it with such courage? Representing people with the mindset of me representing others is a service mindset. And so if I'm showing up wacky and goofy and silly and dumb, it's not to propagate me and to get more followers for me. I'm doing it in service to everybody else to let people know, like, hey, you could be a dummy and still have like an awesome group of people. Like, you don't have to be uptight and follow the agenda and follow the script and all of that. You can do that too, but you don't have to. And what does that do? That helps or enhances my mental wellness. And which brings us to Buddy's comment.
Yes.
So mental health thing.
Yes.
Please.
So no, that's what mental health thing that we focus on 1 month a year. We need to listen to the quietness of our teammates all year. So yes, Buddy. And I know the mental health is huge and something that is important to you and the people that you lead. And so I just want to, I guess, challenge or task everyone in front of us. Like, we have months, we have days, we have weeks, safety week. Like, we know safety is not important 1 week out of the year. Like, we know those things. And they're going to be out there, and we don't get to control and dictate all of that. But we do get to dictate how we show up and what we focus on. And all of those things, if they're important to you every day of the year, then let people see that. Let people, when they see Jesse or they see me or they see whoever, like that person, it doesn't matter. That person, it doesn't matter the day, it doesn't matter the holiday, it doesn't matter the evening, the morning, it doesn't matter what space that they are in, they show up the same. And it one person may see it. It may not get celebrated. It may not get recognized. The picture may not have gotten snapped of it. It doesn't matter. How do you show up, and do you show up the same? And I know we can't do that all the time. And I know we have all these little things that have to, we have to, oh, what about this? What about this? When you can get to that place, and it's not just, I'm going to do this tomorrow and everything's going to be great. You're going to get people that don't agree with you. You're going to get people that kind of judge a little bit of, that's not really what we're looking for. And hey, you're wrong. Got some people that worry about that a lot, on just, someone telling them they're wrong with their opinions or their thoughts and things like that. And just so you know, that's going to happen whether you accept it, like it, or not. Like, that's being human. Like, it's going to happen. Not everyone's going to agree with you. And so if that bothers you, you're going to be bothered a lot, and you can cater your message to that.
Yes.
But it's going to happen either way.
Yes, it is. And so another like secret key about this showing up and showing out is it helps me, like, the less, what's the word, subdued, or the less fabricated my presence is when I show up, meaning that as authentic as I can be, the quicker I find out the right people, right? And this is a little muddy, but I put in a lot of effort to avoid exclusivity, meaning I don't want to exclude anybody, but I am going to create the conditions so that people can exclude themselves, right? Like, If you know me and you like whatever this is, you know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like this flavor, there's no confusion of what you're going to get. So you get to choose to be otherwise. Mm-hmm. And when I, put on the mask and do the song and dance, people believe I'm something that I'm not. And then I end up sharing more space with them, more time with them. And that starts eroding my energy. So if I just show up the way I am, they will know, like, we can't invite that fool to a nice place because he's going to be a dummy. Good. Because if I got to be in a nice place and sit up straight and put a freaking napkin in my shirt, I don't want to be there. Right? I'm not judging that. That's just not the place that I thrive. It's not the conditions in which I thrive. It's not a judgment against it. I just know where I glow, baby. That's what it's all about. Now, when it comes to this, National Day, National Week, again, I think they're pep rallies. I support them, but I just think they're pep rallies. It's optics, it's show. Because we've had National Women's Week and Women's Month and Women's Day and all these things. And we are perfect example, Maria. So thank you. She like the women tailored construction clothes, shoes that are hitting the market. It's freaking 2023.
Why are we just now putting women tailored things out there?
All right. Hey, but we had Women's Month in construction last year in 1990, hashtag, all that crap. But what the hell are we actually doing to honor the differences of people in our industry, and not just in our industry, but like in the world, right? In the universe. So that's now, Ian. Exactly. Show up, add value, be positive, and make an impact in someone's day. Like, right? We need a national show up, add value, be positive, and make an impact in someone's day. Like, why don't we do that?
Why don't we just all take a day, and that way every day is that day?
It totally. Oh, look, Gloria's showing some love for Buddy about the
very
mental.
Very much.
So, like, we're not going to be able to get into all of this, but
no, Justin had a question though, which I think is important. And
okay,
I know you can go find it, but I'll kind of prep it.
Come on, yeah,
so
please.
A cheat code I use, and it's not going to fully. It's probably a whole nother show, but fully ask about unconscious bias But one thing you can do, because you don't know everybody's unconscious bias. You may know your own. You may still be figuring it out. One cheat code that I have been able to use as kind of like an icebreaker in any room. Doesn't matter what level of people are in the room, and it's very uncomfortable. And some of them shy away from it, and they give very surface answers. And that's okay, because then you know those people. And then you know those people that, like, you open something up for them and they dove in. And so I've talked about this a little bit on some previous shows. An icebreaker I use in a room with, leaders, clients, designers, like a lot of trades. What makes you human? And I'm going to tell you, you're going to get people that go, I've got 2 kids and I've got 3 dogs. And you're going to get people that say that because that's default. But then as soon as one person says, what makes me human is I have a daughter with dyslexia. And every night I sit with her and I help her do her homework. And when I have to travel, like to this meeting today, last night I had to do it over the phone. And it didn't go as well. And I had to show up today knowing that she probably is not in a good space today because she didn't get her homework done. When someone can share that in a room of people that are worried about budget, schedule, quality, and safety, it changes the dynamic of the connections and the conversations in the room. And you're not going to get everybody doing that. But when one person did it, then a couple of times later, someone else dove in. Another meeting, someone said, I have a son that has autism, and I have a camp that I do in the summertime, and it's about helping autistic kids swim and things like that. That's what makes me human, because that is so important to me, and it's a passion I have, and it is something that I will take time away from work to go do. All of a sudden, we're not talking about, how we're best going to balance the budget and how we're going to make sure we hit this end date. It changes the dynamic of the people in the room, and now we're not at each other. We're together working towards something else. So cheat code, but it goes back to that we get in our heads sometimes of judging and thinking about what other people are doing and why they do it, and we don't ever ask the questions.
Yes. So was this the question you were talking about?
Yes.
Boom. I think so. First of all, like Justin, that is a very vulnerable and honest question, right? And I think there's a whole bunch of, man, I'm lost because I'm jealous again. Like shit, there's so many comments I can't even keep up with it. It's not fair. Yeah, I had actually, and this may be a little off base, but it absolutely transformed my thinking. I had a mentor, former boss, current mentor of mine. I was explaining to him that a position I was being considered for like a national role for something. And I knew part of that reason was because of my beautiful tan, right? And the optics of that. And so we were talking about it and he's like, okay, so what's the problem? Like, it's a national role, dummy. And I'm like, well, yeah, they just want me it's because I'm brown. And he's not brown, right? He's kind of old white dude. And he's like, Jesse, I understand where you're coming from. He said, but just think about this. I'm a white man. I'm an old white man. And I leverage that fact that I am in a protected class and I'm a white dude. I leverage that. Everybody would do a little better if they leveraged that thing. He's like, and specifically you, instead of leveraging it, you're getting offended and pissy about it, and you're going to short sell yourself. And I'm like, talk about a 180 in my thinking, right? Because it's easy for me to complain or like connect with the idea of white privilege and brown privilege and all these things. Like, everybody has some degree of privilege and everybody suffers to some degree. Like, that's the truth. Not everybody has the same degree of those things, but it's happening. And so there's some natural things that I have that I can let them be a liability, or I can make it an asset. But it requires a shift in thinking. I had to like swallow some of my pride about like, you ain't the boss of me. I ain't me or token whatever, and say, wait a minute, stupid. Like, yeah, roll with that. It's still even uncomfortable for me to say it. It's really,
I can tell.
Right. It's really uncomfortable. And so one thing, I mean, we got 3 minutes left. I just posted the link to the after party. Please, please, please click that link, because this was a freaking awesome. And I'm looking at the chat. It's like blowing up over there. So I'm sure there's a lot of ideas and opinions that we're going to dive in further.
And those that don't know, the after party is where you get the voice and we get to kind of sit back and facilitate. And so it's a audio, no video, but you get to jump in and kind of share it and share with the group and have some conversations. They always get deeper because it's not just Jesse and I talking.
Yep. And so a couple things I want to bring up. We got Women Talk Construction says BU, and they're honoring women all year.
All time, yes.
Nathan, what's up, Nathan? Nathan says 100, baby, all the way across. And so my closing thought is this, Jen, is I am representative of a bunch of people. I am representative of you, Jennifer. I am representative of the No BS tribe, right? I'm representative of the L&M family. And because I believe I am a representative of all of these really amazing earth-moving people, that's what helps me show up and show out. That's my thought, Jen. Closing thought for you.
My closing thought is, if at any point any of this conversation helps you or you're not sure like how you can get more of this, I just want to do a really quick shout out for a couple of people that are very important to me. So a couple of books. One came out this last week, and it is Buddy and Adam, and it is Old Dog Lean Thesaurus. Talked about one of those groups of how we connect some old school mentality, kind of traditional thinking, lean superintendent that's come over from the dark side, and then someone who maybe are saying this is the only way you can do it. They do a great job of, looking at terms and giving you both perspectives. And then the other is, if you like listening to any of Jesse's vulnerability on this show, he has an entire book that he's not even promoting yet, but June 23rd is when he is going to start. It's going to be out there, and it's actually out there now, but he's not telling anybody because June 23rd is what is June 23rd? Why is that important, Jesse?
Oh man, so June 23rd, if I stay on the path that I'm on, will be the day that I am celebrating 7 years of sobriety. And that's
Crazy.
Why the launch of the book is scheduled for that day.
Yes.
And it's a special thing because everybody here has contributed to my staying sober or being sober, living a sober life. And the purpose of that book is to share more about me, but more importantly, the lessons that I took and kind of the state of mind that I was in over many, many years, so that people can connect and give themselves permission and have hope for themselves or have hope for others. And hope is great, but take some damn action. And that is all the way throughout the book. This is what happened. This is a little glimmer of hope. And here's the action I did. And so ideally, people will take some of those little formulas and apply them to their life.
So those are my takeaways, my last thoughts. And then in 2 weeks, when we have our next live stream, we will actually be in San Antonio the day after the book launch event and have a weekend with some group of people. So it'll be exciting.
Yes, reciprocal propulsion is coming.
Yes.
All right, 4 minutes, and we'll please join the after party. See y'all there.
Yes.
Peace. Yeah, to do the dance.